Good morning. My name is Ken Brightbill, Corporate Director of Recruiting. I appreciate you all calling into our iCIMS information session. Just a little information about myself. I've been in the recruitment space since 2001. I've been with UHS now, going on 7 years this January. My entire career focused in the recruitment area, full cycle recruitment, in particular in the corporate setting as well as in the healthcare setting. Most notably at UHS, spending most of my career supporting C-suite recruitment on the behavioral health side as well as our nurse recruitment strategy, and then recently transitioning into my role as Corporate Director of Recruiting. We're very excited about our new ATS launch, iCIMS. Today we're going to spend some time understanding information in regards to that transition from Deltek to iCIMS. As we go through, we're going to cover a lot of information. Questions might arise. Please use the chat function. You can ask those questions real time. We will log them, and then at the end of the presentation, we'll make sure that we address those questions as we move forward. I have two people joining me today. We have Taylor Giannetti, our Recruitment Operations Administrator, who will be fielding questions at the end as well. And then I'd like to pass along the presentation to my colleague, Kurt Shaner, Program Manager for Recruitment Operations. Kurt, take it away.
Thanks, everybody. My name is Kurt Shaner, Program Manager, Recruitment Operations. I've probably interacted with a lot of you on the phone or even via email regarding the Deltek HR Smart. But what I wanted to do is for those of you who don't know who I am, is kind of give you some of my background. So I've been in the recruiting space since 2007, primarily in healthcare. So the way that I approach a lot of these systems, when we're researching systems or implementing a recruiting system, is really looking at it from the recruiter and candidate experience. So making sure that we're mindful that any system that we're looking at has the appropriate functions from a recruiter navigation, but then also making it easier for candidates when they're looking at applying to jobs and things like that. So we'll dive right into it as to kind of what's happening. So as Ken mentioned, UHS has made the decision to end our partnership with Deltek/HR Smart after 11 years. UHS went through a Deltek system update in 2017 that revealed a lot of limitations within their product that negatively impacted the UHS hiring practices. So basically what happened is Deltek does not have the ability to accommodate UHS in the growth, any integrations with our HRS system and third-party vendors like PreCheck or WOTC process, Quest Diagnostics, and one of the most important ones, I-9 Advantage. So due to these reasons, the Deltek partnership will expire in March of 2020. So why is this happening? UHS continues to grow with new construction and acquisition. UHS requires an ATS that can accommodate the volume of transactions that take place. That's opening positions, candidates searching and applying to jobs, candidates being hired and onboarding, and the number of HR folks that are actively in the system at any given time. UHS is in need of a system that can accommodate our company structure. UHS is structured very uniquely where each facility is independent of UHS or Universal Health Services. This also includes our corporate entity, UHS of Delaware. So UHS requires ATS that can be segmented by process level, which is your facility, but then also location. Going even further into that, this also applies to your team members and employees. The new ATS needs to have the ability to be fully integrated with our other technology partners, and this applies to our current partners like PreCheck and Quest and I-9 Advantage, but also future partners.
Yeah, and just to add to that, our goal is really to have one way into the system for an applicant and one way into Lawson. So having a fully integrated onboarding portal, so as you're moving forward from an application process, you're positioning that candidate, transitioning them to the next stage in the interview process, and when you get to that hire piece and you're offering them a position, They're moving on to our pre-check vendor, which would be integrated in the system from a background check perspective, Quest Diagnostics, which would be our drug screen, all integrated through the applicant tracking system to make a better process for our HR departments, our recruiters, but also from a regulatory and from a compliance standpoint, that we're managing things through the system, through the portal, and we're not going outside of that. So it's a very linear process going through that candidate experience and that hiring manager experience.
So as Ken alluded to, is what we're trying to achieve is a standard level of compliance reporting to reduce risk at your facility, and then to also provide insight from a corporate perspective as to what is happening at the facility level. One of the things we're looking at is the desire and goal to become a fully electronic process. So basically what we're looking at is we want everything to be collected electronically so that we could retrieve and store that information electronically down the road. So who do we choose? Well, it's no surprise. We chose iCIMS because of their ability to meet all of UHS's HR requirements. iCIMS is the industry leader in applicant tracking technology. Just to let everybody know, this wasn't a quick and easy process. It was about a year-long process with a requirements list of about 200 standard requirements. We also put together a project team of field and corporate employees that also included our BH division, acute, and IPM. After researching large nationally structured companies like Target, Walmart, and other healthcare leaders, we requested information and requested proposals from over 10 vendors. What happened after that is we demoed about 3 vendors, iCIMS, Taleo, and PeopleFluent, and we came to the decision that iCIMS was one of the leaders in their field and could accommodate everything that we were looking at from a requirement standpoint, but then also a navigation standpoint.
And just to add to that, Kurt, you know, we had individuals from not only corporate but in the field sit in on those RFP, RFI requests, demo the products, and between the 3 different vendors, iCIMS really did stand out. We looked at Taleo, we looked at PeopleFluent, and iCIMS just was a step ahead in regards to user interface, navigation, mobile accessibility, and would really take us to the future state that we want to be in. So I think we've made the right decision. We've received a lot of really solid feedback from individuals currently at UHS that have used the system in the past. So we're very excited about this progression to a new system here in the next couple months.
So what can iCIMS do for you? What we're going to do is we're going to simplify the rec creation process to eliminate the number of errors. What we're also going to do is you and your hiring managers are going to have the ability to create and view positions and candidate activity within your facility. We're also going to have the option to approve positions and offers mobilely without the need to log into the iCIMS system. So if you're in the system now, Deltec, what happens when you get an approver, whether that's a rec approver or an offer approval, you have to log back into the system. The iCIMS process is independent of logging into the system, so you're going to be able to approve those jobs and those offers via any device without needing a iCIMS login.
So as soon as you pull that email up, if you have that on your phone, you're traveling, basically you click on that link, it'll have an option for you to approve or decline. It'll have all the details in regards to that requisition or if it's an offer letter, and you will not need to sign in. So from a accessibility perspective, you're going to be able to be more streamlined on the go, and then not having to re-log into the systems. I know that's one of the limitations that we have right now with Deltec. I know it can be very frustrating if you're out in the field and or if you're traveling and you need to go in there to approve something, it does require you to re-log in. That's something that iCIMS will really take us to a future state with that technology.
Another important fix that we're going to put in place is we're going to fix the new hire export process to eliminate the errors. Right now in the Deltek system, it's once and done. If the file errors out, it's a manual hire in Lawson. On the iCIMS system, we're going to be able to push multiple new hire feeds. So if you have to correct information, adjust the start date, whatever that information may be, you could re-push that hire over to Lawson and have it load appropriately with the accurate information. Another thing we took a look at is the reporting and analytics. So iCIMS is going to have stronger reporting and analytics to provide your facility the information that it needs with open positions, candidate activity, and reporting up to your leadership. One of the most important things that we looked at iCIMS for is support when it comes to questions and navigation. What iCIMS can do is they can support all of our field user questions from their support call center. So the way that the process works now is we have the Deltek HR Smart Help Desk, and you email in, and we do our best to get responses back to you in a timely fashion. iCIMS will be fielding all of their questions, or all of your questions, from their support call center. They'll have a team of individuals that are trained on our system, so if you have any questions, you would call in, and then they would answer those questions as they come in, and they'll also work you through helping you figure out what it is that you need to figure out. Okay. So what is changing? Some of the upcoming changes that you need to be aware of is the goal of standardizing our processes to make sure that everything is happening from a standard level of compliance from a reporting perspective. So what we're doing is we're standardizing the position create process. Positions are not job postings. What you have to keep in mind is that a position or a requisition is a job, and we're going to be hiring that person into that position, and that information is the information that's going to go over to Lawson that is going to essentially build their profile in Lawson.
So just a quick note on that, Kurt. So, you know, as we are recruiters, as we are hiring managers, you know, if we're going into that system as a recruiter and creating a requisition, when you go to pull down your department codes, your job codes, salary grades, location code, all of that information on the upfront being standardized and solid data is what's going to pull that information over to Lawson to make that hire. So as we go through education and training, that's one of the pieces that we're going to focus on, because it's critical from the onset as we're creating these requisitions that everything is where it needs to be, because when you hire that information, we want to be able to eliminate any errors on the back end. So I just wanted to point that out, and we'll elaborate on that further as we go into trainings, et cetera, and you'll get up to speed on that process and understanding of how to create those requisitions on the front end.
What we're also doing is we're standardizing and shortening and locking down the candidate disposition process to eliminate errors, but then to most importantly build accurate reporting. So if we don't have a standard candidate disposition process, then that means that we don't have accurate reporting. So what we did is we took a look at the candidate dispositions and what are the most important ones that we want to trap on from a reporting perspective, and we built that into the process, and that process is going to be locked down from you have to move a candidate through the entire disposition process to get them into offer and into onboarding. The other thing that we took a look at is eliminating the manual new hire actions in Lawson. All new hires need to come from iCIMS. We should not be manually hiring people in Lawson in the near future, and we're also looking at disabling the new hire action in Lawson. So what that also means is that when you create a requisition, you create a position, and you're hiring that person, we need to make sure that that information is accurate, that when you push that hire button, it goes over to Lawson, so there is no need to go into Lawson to manually hire the person.
And just to go back to that workflow item that I had mentioned around our vendors and our plugins with pre-check, background check vendor, Quest Diagnostics for drug, that workflow and hiring, you'll need to complete those stages. So from a compliance perspective, it'll put UHS in a better area from a risk perspective, because we're eliminating any of those potential risks, because as we're having candidates go through that workflow, they're being offered a position, they accept that offer electronically, then they are prompted to do their pre-check background check, their Quest diagnostics, and then they're moving through that workflow to then be able to be hired into Lawson. So it's eliminating any potential risk of going outside of the system, hiring people prior to them completing their pre-employment testing, okay?
Another thing that we're going to take a look at is the hires after start date. So if you've been here for a year or two, you might remember the HR Smart Compliance Report or ATS Compliance Report that used to come out. We have since stopped that because we got to some numbers that we are comfortable with. But one of the goals is to eliminate the hires after start date. We really shouldn't have any hire action taking place in iCIMS or Lawson after an employee is on your site, in your facility. So all new hires need to be hired at a minimum of 5 days prior to their start date. If somebody is being hired after their start date, and what that means is they are working in your facility and they are not an employee, that means they're not in Lawson, they do not have a profile and employee number, that really opens up your facility to risk. So we're going to take a look at that, and we're going to put some processes in place to eliminate those hires after start date. The other goal of UHS is to, again, move to 100% electronic collection of information. So it's going to basically set UHS up to, in the near future, to be able to maintain electronic employee records. But the starting point is we need to collect that information electronically to even be able to consider storing it electronically down the road in the future. One thing that we're taking a look at is the onboarding process, is that we're going to have a separation between onboarding and orientation. So onboarding documents are going to contain information that is needed to hire that person. And there is a separation between onboarding documents versus information that could be distributed day one or during orientation. We do have some limitations with state regulations to where a new hire should only be filling out onboarding documents and can only spend X amount of time filling out information. And if it exceeds an excessive amount of time, then we actually have to pay that employee. California is one of those states, but we do have to put protocols in place to accommodate any future regulations down the road. So the other thing is that we are going to be pulling reporting from a corporate perspective to, again, give us insight into facilities from a compliance and metric standpoint. Okay, so when is all this happening? So education sessions are going to begin in November, and they're going to be assigned through LMS. Each education session is required and mandatory, and each session will be reported on for compliance. When we have our go-live date for iCIMS within the first week of March 2020, this will not be a phased rollout. It is actually going to be a big bang rollout. So once we go live on iCIMS, all facilities are going to be going live at the same time. And one thing to note when we get into the data migration from Deltek to iCIMS is we are only going to be bringing over active, open, relevant information. We are really trying to start from basically with a clean slate, but we do want to and need to bring over information that will keep your process going with open positions and hiring candidates. But again, we do want to start with a lot of clean information and not bring over any inaccurate information that was housed in a previous system. So Deltek is going to be turned off that first week, March of 2020, and it's only going to be accessible from a legal requirement standpoint. So what that means is there will not be any access into the old Deltek system. The only people that will have access to it will be our outside counsel for legal inquiries only.
Looking forward to moving forward with iCIMS, more communications to come in the near future in regards to education and training. Thank you so much for joining our info session today. Thank you.